bugs. It's Iain from RTO here in the dark as usual, as it's winter. Welcome to another marathon, another viewers' requests. We're getting through these requests. For those of you who have just asked for some like this week, don't expect them in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The earliest you're going to get them now is probably the spring, depending on how many albums they've got. If they're like 13 or more, there's more chance of them coming up before. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. We have got so much stuff to get through. So today's band is one of the bands that gets always forgotten about, and that's Tokyo Blade. They were there at the beginning of the new wave of heavy metal. They were formed in 1982. Now they've been through lots of people in the band and lots of band names. But as of 2020, most of the original members are now back in the band. They have actually formed a band it goes back to the late 70s under the moniker of White Diamond. And then in 1981 they changed their name to Killer. Then they changed it to Genghis Khan before they came to Tokyo Blade. Now, the original lineup of the band was Alan Marsh on vocals, Steve Pearce on drums, Andy Robbins on the bass, and Ray Dismore on the guitar. They were pretty big. Not they weren't big. But they sort of were one that just didn't quite make it. But they deserve some recognition because they are part of that new wave of British heavy metal. During the 80s, though, the mid-80s, they were on the same clubs and festivals as such acts as Metallica and Venom, so they didn't do too bad. Now they've released 12 albums and a sort of a reissued sort of thing to making the 13. They're all official. So we're going to have a look at them today. So coming in at number 13, we have an album that was reissued in 1989. Called Eye of the Storm. Now it's a reissue of No Remorse, and it was an amended track listing and all sorts, and it was released by the German label Scream in 2008 as well. So it's all over the place, this one. The band at the time on this is Michael Podds on lead vocals, Andy Bolton lead guitar, Martin Mansfitz on keyboards, Dave Sale on bass, and Hans-Jürgen Astor on the drums. So I'll just run through these tracks because we will be talking about the original. You've got 1,000 Years in Eye of the Storm, Chains of Love, Dark Night Over Paradise, Moonlight Martini, 5-inch Catwalk, Crystal Gold, Angel, Tears Are Not Enough, Shadows of Insanity. Now there are some tracks that are not on the original. One of them is called Call Me Angel. Yeah, it's not heavy metal at all. It's a bit of a limp-wristed, wishy-washy sort of pop song. Stop It or Drop. Not a great lover of this either. It just doesn't sound like Tokyo Blade. Fever really goes against the grain of what they originally did. Structural, too much keyboard, terrible production on the drums, not very good. Sunrise in Tokyo. That's another one that was on the other one. Very bizarre album. I don't know what was going on at the time. I don't own this one, and I'm probably not likely to. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 1 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 12, we got the third album of 1985, Black Hearts and Jaded, Spades. Now the lead vocals, he went under the name of Vicky James, right, but his name's I think Victor as lead vocals and harmonica, Andy Bolton on the lead guitar, John Wiggins on the lead guitar, Andy Wright on bass, Steve Pearce on the drums, and Nick Collett doing the keyboards on this as a guest. So, Dirty Faced Angels, very commercial sounding Tokyo band played even. It's a little bit thin as well. Not a great track. Make It Through the Night. Straight off MTV garbage. Not very good again. Always. The drums just don't sound heavy enough. Looks like they've put tea towels on the drums and made them go, yeah, very... guitars are good, but the drums just sound terrible. Loving You isn't an easy thing to do. This is probably one of the better tracks on here. It's a bit of a boogie. Undercover Moon, Honeymoon, just sounds like most hair metal bands of 1985. No imagination, plastic, generic, not very good. You Are a Heart. Now, I don't know what's going on with, record companies wanted to make heavy metal sound clean. It didn't work, and that track is just one of them sort of tracks that was like that. Then we have the title track, Black Hearts and Jaded Spades. Now this one isn't that bad. Sounds half decent. Then we get Tough Guys Tumble, more generic heavy metal from the 80s. Dancing in the Moonlight, more wishy-washy MTV fodder. It's not worth even talking about. Playroom of the Poison Dreams isn't too bad. It actually sort of resembles heavy metal. And Monkey Bloods, not very good. The vocals are terrible. It's just terrible production. Yeah, very commercial, plastic heavy metal. Not a very good album, so I shall give that an RTO ranking of 2 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 11 from 1998, Mr. Ice. This... It's not really a Tokyo Blade album. It's a band called Mr. Ice that I don't know how it ended up being a Tokyo Blade album, but the band is Alan Marsh on vocals, Andy Bolton guitar, Colin Riggs on bass, Mark Angel on drums, and Attila on keyboards and backing vocals. And a couple of the tracks 7 to 11 feature Danny Gwilym on guitar. First track is Hot Breath. Yeah, not very good at all. Then we have it just sounds plastic. It's one word to describe it. Poor Rich Kid. It's a sort of a rock metal rap. Good solo, but that's all I can say about that. Woman in Love, best track on the album. It actually sounds half decent. More Than a Pretty Face. Don't like this. There's too much shouting. It just doesn't sound very good. Boys Will Be Boys, not very heavy metal, more like limp-wristed wishy-washy pop. Young, Bad and No Good, horrible drumming on this. It just doesn't sound right. No Resistance to Love, definitely one of the better tracks. Got a bit of body to this one for starters. 1,000 Nights, which is a copy of another one. Passion and Emotion, very weird keyboards, very 80s, but it was done in 1998. I don't know what was going on there. Then we have One Liar live rehearsal. I don't know what's going on there. And Young, Glad and No Good live rehearsal. No, not very good. Very tinny production. It's not really a Tokyo Blade album, but it comes into their catalogue, so I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 3 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 10, we have the 7th album, Pumphouse. This is again, it's one of them albums. It's actually recorded by a band called Pumphouse, which was an outfit that was founded by Alan Marsh after Mr. Ice folded. Strange, but it went under the name of Tokyo Blade after members of Pumphouse, Marsh, Riggs and had joined Andy Bolton and John Wilkins to record Burning Down in Paradise and tour Europe as Tokyo Blade. So that's how that happened. So on here we've got Alan Marsh on vocals, Jesley on guitar, Iain Attila Marshall on keyboards, Colin Riggs on the bass and Mark Angel on the drums. Like It Like You Not. Now I like this, the drumming's really good and it's a half decent track. Then we get The Ultimate High. Love the bass line here from Colin Riggs, absolutely brilliant. The drumming from Mark Angel's pretty good. It's one of the best tracks on the album. Gerald's Game, yeah, we're going back to the plasticky, tinny metal. Doesn't sound right. Pay the Man, interesting drum line on this, and the bass is great. That makes it a little bit different, but it works, and I quite like that one. Wrong Chair, good guitar solo on this, and the drumming again's really good. It's Only Money. The only thing worth talking about this is when it finishes. It's got them clap your hands sort of thing. Not very good. Character Assassination. I quite like this one. It's a bit of a sort of a Faith No More style, funky sort of rock. Don't mind that at all. SOS, solid track. Some great riffs in that. Great vocal from Mr. Marsh. It's back on form with that one. Then we have All Work and No Play. Solid, nothing wrong with it. Then we have SNAFU. It's okay, just like the last track, Having a Bad Day. It's not a bad album. Is it Tokyo Blade or is it not? Who knows? But I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Time for some latte. Lovely. Right. Coming in at number 9, we have the 5th album from 1989, and it's the original version of No Remorse. And I haven't put who's on this, but there is not. I don't know who's actually playing on this. The album was actually recorded as a collaboration between Andy Bolton and German band Dead Ballerinas. But it again was come under as a Tokyo Blade album. This is a strange band. So the first track is called 1,000 Years. I love this. It's quite eerie and dramatic. Really good. That goes straight into the eye of the storm. It's okay, but I don't like the keyboard sound on it. It's really cheesy. Change the Love. This is all about the bass line. Great bass line. One of the better tracks on the album. Dark Night Over Paradise. There's a little bit of heavy metal in there. I think if you search for it, it's just a bit naff. The best track on here is Moonlight in Martini. It resembles heavy metal. Sounds really good. Forget the horrible keyboard on it, but the rest. 5-inch Catwork. The drums are overproduced. Not very good. Crystal Gold. Again, it's just ruined by the cheesy keyboard sound. It just doesn't need to be there. Angel. Straight out of MTV. Not very good at all. Tears Are Not Enough. Horrible vocals. A bit strange. Not fun. That. And then Shadows of Insanity. A typical overproduced heavy metal record of the 80s. Some nice songs on here. Don't get me wrong, but they're really overproduced. Smoothing out heavy metal didn't work. But for the tracks I do like, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 8, we got a 2011 outfit, 1,000 Men Strong. Playing on here is Andy Bolton, Andy Wright and Steve Pearce, John Wiggins and Nicole Rudnow on vocals. First track on here is called The Black Abyss. This is really good. Very solid track. Great guitars here from both John and Andy. That twin sound, that real raunchy heavy metal. Really good track. 1,000 Men Strong. Proper heavy metal. It's heavy metal, a proper early 80s heavy metal, but done in 2011. It's a great vocal from Nicola, whatever. It's got a J at the end of it. It's very strange. I don't want to disrespect his name, but I don't know what, so I should call him Nick for short. Very good vocal from him. It's a great track. Then we have Lunch Case. Again, we've got a great bass line from Andy Wrighton. Tremendous good old-fashioned heavy metal bass line. Forged in Hell's Fire, a great heavy metal sounding name. Thumping bass, great riffs. Nothing wrong with that one. No Conclusion. It's not too bad. The vocals are a little bit strained. I don't know why, but there we go. Then The Ambush. My favourite track. This is just good old-fashioned British heavy metal. Bellowing drums, dirty bass lines, riffs, licks. It's all in there. It's really good. Killing Rays. Again, it's just good old-fashioned heavy metal. What I grew up on. Heading Down the Road. Some really nice guitar work in that. I quite like that. It's a little bit more gentle-ish, but it's quite good. Condemned to Fire. There's so many great bass lines on this. It's just great. And then you got the sort of ripping twin guitars going between each other. Night of the Blade. Now this is a track off their second album, and they don't do a bad version of it actually. This is a really good album. I really like this one. It's good old-fashioned 80s metal done in the 21st century. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 7, we go to 2022 now, and the album Fury, and it's almost the original band. Steve Pearce, Andy Bolton, Alan Marsh, Don Wiggins and Andy Wrighton. First track on here is A Man in a Box. Great opening track. Alan Marsh vocals are great. He's still singing as strong as ever. Good opening track. Blood Red Night. Great riffs in here. Andy Bolton and John Wiggins, On Fire. Very, very good. Then we get I Am Unbroken, thundering track, galloping along. It's got that sort of bass line, that Steve Harris galloping along bass line. Absolutely killer track. Disposable Me, not a particular favourite of mine, but I do like the bass line. Eyes Wide Shut. Now that twin guitar in this is very Thin Lizzy. I love it. It's a nice solo on this. Great track. The Cold Light of Day. Bit of a filler here. The keyboards just don't sound right. We All Fall Down. I like this. The beginning is such... If you say what's heavy metal, that's heavy metal. Great start. The Heart of Darkness. The drumming on this is absolutely amazing. Really strong drumming. Kill Me Until I'm Dead. Bit repetitive. Not as good as some of the tracks on here. Life Leaves a Scar on Me. Solid track. Just solid metal. Message on the Wall. Speech at the beginning. Then it comes in with the dramatics. Really good track. Then we get Nail Bomb. My favourite on this, quite melodic. The drumming on this is fantastic. And the riffs just ooze heavy metal riffs. Rhythm of a Gun, solid enough track here. Static, some nice guitar work, some nice interplay on the twin guitars. And the last track is Where the Bullets Fly. It's just good. It's a good album, but there's 15 songs on here. It's about an hour and 18 minutes. Some of them are a bit repetitive, but on the whole it's just not a bad album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay then, coming in at number 6, got a 1995 now, and the Burn Down Paradise album. Andy Bolton on guitars, Alan Marsh on vocals, Colin Riggs on bass, Mark Angel on the drums, and John Wiggins on guitars. Burning Down Paradise. I love this track. That's a really good opener. Great guitar from John and Andy. Absolutely killer track. Friend in Need. There's lots of shredding on this. Lots of twiddly bits. Then the bass line from Colin Riggs is killer. Flashpoint Serenade. Probably the weakest track on here, but it's still reasonable. It just lacks a little bit of depth. Kickback. I love the acoustics at the beginning. The acoustic guitar on this at the beginning really adds to it. Goes straight in it. Wigan of Prayer. Now this reminds me of how Threshold tracks start. The eerie introduction guitar. I love this track. I think it's because it reminds me so much of Threshold. Then we get Hot Breath, which they did a cover of it, but this is the best version because it's just no smoothed out, no bad production, just boom, good heavy metal, driving riffs. Then we get A Heart Full of Bad Wiring. Great bass line at the beginning. It's a very funky bass line. You get these great riffs on it. Terrific track. Paper in the Cracks. Strange track. Not a particular favourite of mine, but the drums just sound so tinny. Get Out of My Face. Not my favourite track. A little bit disjointed. The drums seem to stop, start sort of thing. And I don't know if it's a case of I missed a beat from Mark Angel and I've had to start again. But that's why I'm not very keen on it, really. It's just a little bit out of the thing. Only the Strong. I love the slap bass on this. It's absolutely amazing. You don't expect it in heavy metal, but it's a great slap bass from Colin. Absolutely killer track. Then Woman and Love. The drumming is brilliant on this from Mark Angel. The driving bass line, the engine room of this band working well. And the last track, Dead End Kid, just seems like a rock ballad that MTV would have jumped up and down for. A bit of a mixed bag this one is. It has got some great stuff on it and some ordinary stuff. But I do like listening to this album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Okay, then coming in at number 5. This is the 4th album from 1987, and it's called Ain't Misbehavin. It's a completely new lineup, assembled by Andy Bolton after the disbandment of the original Tokyo Blade. So we've got Peter Zito on vocals, Andy Bolton guitar, Chris Stover on bass, Alex Lee on drums. First track on here is called Heartbreaker. I love Andy Bolton's guitar on this. He's doing all the guitar work on this. It's pretty raw and it's excellent. Too Much Too Soon. Some more driving riffs from Andy. Great track. Watch Your Step. I really like this. The heavy metal was sort of changing. This is when it all came into be smooth and that, but this has still got little edges of smooth but a lot of rawness on it. Movie Star. This is one of them tracks you go, oh dear, what's happening here? It's not very metal at all. Hot for Love, my favourite track on here. That opening riff is just brilliant. Andy Bolton on fire. Tokyo City, great bass line from this Chris Stover. Absolutely killer bass line and a good track. Love and Hate. This is the start of a lot of the, yeah, we're going to change our sound. Yeah, it didn't work for me. Don't Walk Away. Again, it just doesn't suit this album. Then we have this little track called Ain't Misbehavin. It's just one of these nonsense things at the thing, but it's quite fun. This is the change of the sound. The smooth production was coming in, but on the whole, there's a lot of good metal tracks on here, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, then coming in at number 4 from 2018, Unbroken. Steve Pearce on the drums, Andy Bolton guitars, Alan Marsh vocals, John Wiggins guitar, and Andy Wrighton on the bass. First track on here is Devil's Gonna Bring You Down. Great metal title. No messing about here, straight in. Great vocal from Alan. The drumming from Steve is of a high class. Andy John killing the riffs. Brilliant. Bullet Made of Stone. Melodic. Love the riffs in this. Great vocal from Alan. Burn Down the Night. I love the bass line on this. It sets the tone. It's moody, eerie, and the effects on the guitar are pretty good. A great vocal from Alan. The Man in Black comes next. My favourite on here. Again, we got this wonderful bass line from Andy Wrighton. Sets the mood of the whole track. It just reminds me of Black Sabbath's NIB. Absolutely killer. Great track, and the riffs are good on this as well. No Time to Bleed. It's very Thin Lizzy guitar sound. It's in that vein. Excellent track. Dead Again. It's got a great solo on this. It does drag on a little bit, but the solo does brighten it up. Bad Blood. Again, it belongs to Andy Wrighton. The bass line just drives the song along. I love it how the rest of the band just come in and go round that great bass line. Blackwater. This has got twinges of Iron Maiden. The driving Steve Harris bass and the guitars rolling around. It's like galloping along. Very Iron Maiden, but I don't mind that. Strings. Don't mind this. Then we have The Last Samurai. This is what Iron Maiden should be doing now. But they've gone a bit more melodic, haven't they? This is in the vein of like the Trooper and things like that. It's got that 83, 84 sound of Iron Maiden. I love this track. My Kind of Heaven. Good track with a great solo on it. Proper heavy metal. And that was the last track. This is a really good album. It's got lots of Iron Maiden traits and Black Sabbath and Thin Lizzy. It seems like they're sort of playing to their sort of the people that influence them. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we've got the debut album released in 1983, and it's called Tokyo Blade. So it's Alan Marsh, Andy Bolton, John Wiggins, Andy Robbins, Steve Pearce, and a couple of tracks. Ray Dismore, before he left, did a couple of the tracks. Power Game, raw, gutsy, heavy metal from 1983. Absolutely killer track. Break the Chains. Great drumming here from Steve Pearce. Again, it's raw, it's plug-in and go metal. I just love it. If Heaven is Hell is the next track. Not my favourite. I do like the guitar work in the middle though, it's very good. On Through the Night, love this track. What a solo. You know, it's a solo of the time. Andy Bolton, way. Great stuff from him on that one. Killer City, I've always loved this. This is one of my favourite Tokyo Blade tracks ever. Heavy metal, 1983. We was all young and we were really getting into it. The bass line is cool, the riffs are good. Then we get Liar. You crank this up, it's got a great vocal from Alan, absolutely brilliant. Then we have Tonight, written by Russ Ballard. Very commercial. Don't like it. Sunrise in Tokyo. Sounds a little bit dated, but I remember this coming out as a 17-year-old and loving it. But it just... I don't know. It just takes me back to a time when metal was... It was a new sort of... This new wave was pretty good. I love it, although it's dated. Then you get... a little ditty to end the album. It's called Blue Ridge Mountains on Virginia. Yes, it is the one that Laurel and Hardy sang in Way Out West, and they do it in that vein, and it's brilliant. This brings me back to my youth, my teen years. Okay, it does sound dated, but I love this album. It's one of my guilty pleasures, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.1. Okay, coming in at number 2. Now, up until you'll find out what my number 1, this was always my favourite Tokyo Blade album. It's the second album released in 1984. And it was the first time that Vic Wright, we've got known as Vicky James Wright for some reason, and it's Night of the Blade. He replaced Alan Marsh. You got Andy Bolton, John Wiggins, Andy Wright and Steve Pearce. First track on here is called Someone to Love. Great opening track. This is the last time we really got that traditional new wave sound. Great riffs. Then we get my favourite track ever, Night of the Blade. Absolutely killer track. Vic Wright, absolutely killing vocals. The lead guitar work from John and Andy is brilliant. Steve's drumming's terrific. Throw in a great bass line from Andy and you've got a great metal track. Rock Me to the Limit. Any track that's got the word rocking is always going to be good. This is just absolutely brilliant. It's so English metal. Brilliant track. Warrior the Rising Sun. Some great titles on this. Really good track. Them driving riffs. Great track. The drumming's great on this. Unleash the Beast. I love the drumming on this. It's a bit run to the hills at the beginning, but that's the only similarity. It goes into its good old-fashioned metal. What a track. Love Struck. I remember hearing this on the Friday Rock Show. I thought, oh wow, this is good. Absolutely stonking metal track. Dead of Night. It's a rock ballad, but it's good. Then the last track, Lightning Strikes, straight through the heart. Second favourite track on the album. The screechy vocal, the great licks. What a way to end an album. There's just something of this style of metal that I love. I think you have to have been there at the time as well. I think if you were a young lad getting into metal, this was the album. And up until 2020, this was my favourite Tokyo Blade album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. But my number 1 album is the album that I sort of rediscovered Tokyo Blade. And it's from 2020, and it's Dark Revolution. So the band at the time was Steve Pearce, Andy Bolton, Alan Marsh, John Wiggins and Andy Wright. So almost the original band. So the first track on here is The Story of Nobody. This is my actual favourite opening track of any Tokyo Blade album I've heard. It's got the energy, it's got the riffs, it's them making a statement, we're back. Absolutely killer track. Burning Rain. Some really good bits on this. You know, Alan Marsh still singing strong as ever. Andy Bolton's just a great guitarist. Absolutely killer track. Then we have the title track, Dark Revolution. 2020, and we got the sound of 1980s heavy metal, just using modern technology, and it works, and it's just absolutely great track. The Fastest Gun in Town. The guitar work between John and Andy in this is brilliant. And these sort of tracks, this is why I still love heavy metal. Absolutely killer track. Truth is a Hunter. Galloping bass lines, rolling riffs, hurtling drums, brilliant. Cracking the Glass. Lovely twin guitar repertoire here. The drumming's great. Perfect Enemy. Sounds like good old style Tokyo Blade. Just using modern technology. Raw riffs, screeches, brilliant. See You Down in Hell. My favourite track on here It's just pure British heavy metal. There's no other sound like British heavy metal for me. You can spot it a mile away, and it's great. I mean, I can't headbang to it now because I haven't got no hair and it wouldn't do me any good. But back in the day, I'd have been, if this had have come out in 1981, I'd have had a right old headbang on that. The Lights of Soho, another of my favourite tracks on here. The driving riffs of John and Andy. Steve's drumming, absolutely solid, one of his best performances on this album. Not Lay Down and Die, the wonderful twin heavy metal guitar sound. It's really started by KK and Glenn, and it's in that vein. The drums are a little bit whispery on here, but it adds to the atmosphere. Voices of the Damned. Again, it's just got that distinctive British heavy metal sound. The twin guitars, the great drumming, the singing, it just gets you here. It's a great track to end the album. Okay, what's this my favourite Tokyo Blade album now? It's just one of them modern heavy metal that sounds so much like the original band. All they've done is taken the top technology of today. Alan's vocals are just fantastic. Looked after his voice. He sounds as fresh as he did on the debut. I just love this album. The moment I heard this, I thought, oh my God, they're back. Where have you been? And as time's gone on, it's become my favourite Tokyo Blade album. I never thought it would replace Night of the Blade. They're very similar from different eras, but the playing on both is brilliant. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So there we go. Living some memories from Tokyo Blade. I've really enjoyed reconnecting properly with this band again. I sort of listened to their albums. I mean, I've only got 3 or 4 albums. I've got them, the early ones. But it's just great to listen to these again. And of course, Dark Revolution is a killer album. Okay, that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow, and we've got another round of Battle Royale. This time it's Never Too Late, Status Quo from the Dark Lord, up against Mick. And who's next? And Pick and Mix this week is a Wander Down the Sidewalk. So we're looking at the top 10 singles of the 14th of December 1991, and also there's a certain live stream at 8 PM tomorrow night. So have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.